Hey, what's up? I'm Tony Hawk, and I'm here to tell you about some of my worst injuries throughout my skate career, and it's been a long one. My first major injury happened when I was about 11 years old. I was skating Oasis Skate Park, my local park, and there was one pool that was about, I think it was about 9.5 feet deep, and I was trying to learn rock and rolls on them. I was super small. My board was massive. It was a Sims Andrex. It was probably like 11 inches wide. It was like the heaviest skateboard I could possibly ride, and I was one of the smallest skaters. So I'm trying to do rock and rolls. I can barely get the front truck over the coping, and I just hung up, like I didn't clear the wheels. Next thing I knew, I was in the pro shop, waking up. Someone had found me laying unconscious in the bottom of the pool, and my front teeth were gone. I didn't remember what happened. It wasn't my first time in the hospital because of other injuries that I had sustained, and so the doctor pulled me aside from my parents to ask if they had been abusing me. I was wearing a flyaway helmet because I thought they looked cool back then. My dad immediately made me throw it away and got me a full tech and new teeth. When I was really trying to land 900s, probably through 1994 to 97 is when I was really focused on it, and I would go out with a crew to a ramp and like, all right, this is the day, and I was at the Plan B ramp. I was ready to make it. I finally put it on the wall, like riding down the wall and just leaning too far forward, smashed straight into the flat, broke my rib, and I was late picking up Riley from preschool that day because of it. It was weird. I thought that I had broken my collarbone because it felt so high up and it was hard to breathe. But when I finally went and got x-rays, it was actually a rib that's right near your collarbone. So I was lucky in a way. After that, I was supposed to be doing 900 for the end, and I was too freaked out from my broken rib to really try to put one down. So that's why you never really see me put one on the wall in that video. Oh, 1998, I was doing a commercial for The Gap. It was me, Andy McDonald, Frank Harada, and a bunch of rollerbladers. And it was one of those real, like, sort of dancey commercials. They had a launch box, and it was a full rollerblade BMX launch box, like a big kicker, and then probably an 8-foot deck, and then a super steep landing. We barely had enough speed to clear the thing, and I decided I wanted to step it up, so I tried to do a backside mute, kind of Japan 180. They just wanted me to clear the box, but I had too much ego. Like, I was like, no, I want this to be like a really good skate trick. And so I did it, and I made it, but they didn't pan me fast enough, so they didn't get it in the shot. So they're like, oh, we missed it, can you do it again? And I just had this feeling like, I probably shouldn't try it again. Tried it again, cased the landing, so my front wheels actually landed on the deck, and it just pitched me all the way to the ground and broke my elbow. And I knew it immediately. Like, as soon as I landed, I felt this wave of nausea, and I was just like, I broke it, and I went to straighten my elbow, and you could see like something sort of moving up and out. I still have screws right there. 3 screws right there in my scar. My first broken bone at age 30. Around 1993, they had a big contest in Sacramento, and I had started wearing this new Rector helmet that their claim was like the safest helmet, and it had this like a sponge padding in it, and it looked ridiculous. Like, everyone that wore it looked like a shitty stormtrooper. And I remember people making fun of me for wearing it, and I always stood my ground. I was like, this is the safest helmet. Like, I'm not getting KO'd. And then fast forward to this event in Sacramento, I did a heel flip lean varial. I kind of landed a little too overturned, washed out on the bottom, hit directly to my head, and was out. It was the worst concussion of my life. I woke up somewhere else in the park, went to the hospital, started puking everywhere, like on the hospital bed. I remember I puked on Brian Ridgway, tracker team manager at the time. It wasn't that I was like traumatized. I was so upset that I wore this stupid helmet for like a year straight, and then when I put it to the test, it was the worst KO of my life. Needless to say, I promptly threw it in the trash. Okay, so we built a loop ramp for my Boom Boom Huck Jam tour, and all the guys learned how to do it. Bucky, Bob, Andy, the BMX riders, even Lincoln and Sergi learned how to do it eventually. We had this loop dialed, right, like every night. Right after that tour ended, I was invited to Bob's because he was shooting Wild Boys with Steve-O and Pontius, and they had an orangutan that skated. I was just hyped to bring my kids to see this orangutan skate. That was really my directive. And then they said, hey, we got these funny costumes. You guys want to skate in the orangutan costumes? And yeah, so we did some routines that we knew from the Huck Jam. And I'll never forget Bob going, gorilla loop. And at the moment I was like, yeah, no problem. You know, we've been doing the loop every time. But what I didn't consider was that Bob's loop was so weathered and really not like a perfect circle. It was just kind of kinked at that point. his starting ramp was not really fast enough to get enough speed to do it. And the first rule of loops is that you don't pump out, because if you pump out, you do the Schaefer thing where you're off the wall and spinning in the air. My first attempt, I didn't quite stick on the wall at 12 o'clock and ended up knee sliding around. I was so like in the moment that I thought, oh, I just got to pump. So I tried to pump off of Bob's starting ramp, and then I pumped into the transition and pumped out. Did exactly like what I tell people do not do. And there I was just spinning around, landed on my head and my hip, broke my pelvis, fractured my skull, broke my thumb. Still to this day, my thumb doesn't bend all the way. And my signature changed that day. When I signed my name, I can tell like pre-loop or post-loop because it's still f***ed up. The paramedics had to cut the gorilla suit off of me. Like it was bad. That one was as absurd as it sounds. Yeah. Everyone kind of is like, yeah, you did it in a monkey suit. I'm like, that's not really the embarrassing part. The embarrassing part is that I had loops wired, and then I did like number one mistake. Yeah, my getup was whatever. But last year I did a video, 50 tricks at age 50, and basically it was sort of my way of revisiting some of the tricks I created on vert. Some of the tricks were fun because it was like, I knew it would be the last time I did that particular one because I hadn't done it in a few years, and it was like still kind of scary and risky, and so it was like, oh, I did it. It was cathartic for the most part. And on one of our last days, we were shooting a 720, which shouldn't really be that hard, but for some reason I wasn't getting the right snap, and so I kept going up fakie and missing the grab. I was like hitting my tail on the coping, or we call that getting rejected in vert. If you go up and your tail's too pointed up, it actually hits the coping and gets rejected and shoots back down. That's just a little vert tidbit for you. And then when I finally got the snap and the grab, I just held on. I didn't really consider that it wasn't the optimal place, and suddenly I realized I'm going straight for the channel. I've ridden that ramp for 17 years. If anyone knows where the channel is, I do. I was so like fixated on doing a 720 that I just didn't care, and then all of a sudden I'm just flying out through the opening. And my first thought was, I can't believe I'm not gonna finish this video. Because that was literally 49 tricks. And I was just like, like I blew it on a 720 of all things. But luckily I kind of cleared the flat area. I sort of banked off this pole that's in our warehouse, and I landed on a bit of an upward bank. And that saved me, for sure. I kind of took inventory and realized that I was okay. I mean, I was sore, like my hip hurt, but I was able to walk, and I was able to get up and try another trick. So I can't say it was the worst injury, but it was definitely one of the ones that stands out. Yeah, so those are some of my most memorable injuries. My best advice after going through all those stories is don't break your pelvis. It sucks. Worse than anything.